Hello and welcome to the Managing Madrid Podcast. We have a very special episode today. We've got the directors of the Apple TV series, Real Madrid Until the End. So we're very excited to talk with them. Jesus and Pablo, how are you guys doing?
Hello.
Thank
Hi.
you, Matt.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. So we're obviously this is the biggest English-speaking Real Madrid podcast, and you guys created a documentary on that incredible Champions League run last season and kind of the core values of Real Madrid. So you're hitting the right audience here. So one thing I wanted to ask you guys, I was thinking about, all right, what type of questions can I ask the directors as they come on to the podcast? And one thing I wanted to ask you guys was, where did the inspiration for the series come from? Did Real Madrid approach you? Was it a strategic decision to go with Apple TV? Like, where did this all kind of originate from?
Well, the first day we heard about this was when Real Madrid contacted our production company, Wakai. They wanted to make a documentary about the last season and ask us for a proposal. So we started to work on that proposal. We sent them over and they came back saying they like it and they want to go with that. And we were really, really happy and excited of joining that thing. Later on, Apple was the platform to put the series out. And it was more exciting even because the thing is that being worldwide was kind of a new thing for us, and we were really, really worried about how to reach every single audience in every country they stream the content. So it was really great. Very busy days in the first weeks, but we received tons of footage from Real Madrid from the whole season. They were filming the whole campaign, and the first thing we did was starting to watch that footage for it was hours and hours. We started to create the script coming from that footage.
Right.
And also, Matt, we worked really hard in not only talking the last season of Real Madrid in La Liga and Champions. We were really interested in also talk about how the Real Madrid is more than a team. It's a group of friends, group of Madridistas. We are really interested in open this series to all of Real Madrid fans, but also if you are not Real Madrid fan, we are really happy to get into the series and feel that it's important and easy to watch if you love the feelings and also you love the sports.
Right. Yeah, I think we've talked about the series on the podcast, and I think one of the conclusions we came to, and you guys tell me if we're kind of thinking in the right direction, is like it was clear that you guys as the producers and the directors and Real Madrid in tandem wanted to identify and connect with that global fan base, with that English-speaking fan base, try and break into maybe the North American market, the U.S. market a little bit more. I think that's a clear play with Apple TV, which obviously now has the MLS season on Apple TV. They've had other documentaries like the Super League documentary. And so I think there's a clear play there to try and capture those fans. And so I'm guessing that was really some of the direction that the club gave you, right?
Yeah, well, it was kind of all together. We're thinking and discussing about that, and we came down to that idea because the thing was that the season had been really, really exciting and amazing to watch. And there were the greatest teams in Europe in that round that Real Madrid went through. So we wanted every single fan, even the fans from the teams that Real Madrid eliminated, that were like willing to watch the series as well. So we want everyone on. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter the team you support or even if you support football or not. It was a question of let's bring everyone in, because this is an amazing story. It's not only football, it's something else, because this is a team that overcomes the most difficult path to the success, I think.
Yeah, has emotion, epic. We think it's a extraordinary seasons. It's more than a football season.
Yeah, it had it all, like
Injuries, difficulties, extra time, and incredible comebacks. I think it's really excited to people who are listening us and they didn't see yet. We encourage to watch on Apple TV Plus. It's more than a football series.
yeah, we wanted to make it for global audiences and for anyone that wants to join and get into a very interesting story, and most of all entertaining, because that was the season. Pure
Yeah,
entertainment.
I think one thing that really resonated with a lot of people in terms of capturing the emotion and capturing not only, hey, if you're a Real Madrid fan, you should be interested in this, and hey, if you're just a football fan or just people in general. I think one thing that was really interesting and I want to hear from you guys on was the actual player interviews and hearing from their perspective on, like, you heard guys like Modric and Benzema say, you know what, we knew that in the second leg we were going to turn it around. Like, they had this mentality and they knew that like, no, even despite the deficit, despite the challenges, that they were going to overcome this. And I think it was really, like, having talked with various co-hosts and other fans, like, that was part of the documentary that they loved, was you got this insight into their brain and kind of how they think. How did you guys feel about that? Was that something you were trying to really bring to the documentary and balance?
Absolutely. I think that was the funniest part of all, because getting the players involved was the thing to do, because we wanted to hear from them how they felt and how they went through those moments, even the bad moments, but also the good ones, when we hear how Marcelo was lifting the trophy at the very end, coming from Benzema, who was captain in the game. Is amazing to watch, because it's talking about people, like it's not sports, it's a human relationship and friendship. And yeah, they say, and we witnessed that they are footballers, but they are friends and Madridistas. So, and you can see that in the series, how they support each other, how they cheer for each other. We
didn't think that a few hours before final champion, the Champions League final, they were playing cards,
yeah,
and no egos, relax, trying to feel more comfortable, but start the game, and they work like a block of Madridistas, doing all the things really good, really no.
Yeah, well, you were saying, Matt, about the winning mentality and how they think about football, and it's just that is they know how to handle those situations and those moments of the game. Like I'm thinking of Luka Modric's pass against Chelsea.
Wow.
Like, Madrid were really performing poor in that game. They were out, and Luka Modric makes that thing that turns everything around. So it's amazing.
It's magic.
Yeah, it is. Could you feel, I mean, just from your interviews with the players and being around the club, and kind of, could you feel that it's almost a cultural thing within the club that kind of passes down to the players, this mentality and this belief that it's something, like, as soon as you walk through the doors, you just kind of sense it and it's different, right?
Yeah, and that is something that we were with Pochettino and with Thomas Tuchel as well, and they told us about that. The moment you step in the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium, you can feel the history around you. You can feel the atmosphere, and that it is a different club. So yeah, we were in the training center, and you can feel that every single person within the club, even though made everything like feeling like a family, is in that mentality. They're the best, the best people in their positions, like in every single role at the training centers.
Yeah, during the interviews, they were really, they opened the doors of the training center and they help us a lot. They feel really comfortable. It was, as Jesus says, in Real Madrid Center, and the environment, the atmosphere during the interviews during 2 days, no, was really amazing. They just finished the session and come, okay, let's go to talk about the last season. We have more perspective. Let's go to say something extra. The documentary series needed this kind of moment. It's like when Modric says, and in the comeback, we are going to win. We are going to win, sure, and we are going to win the Champions League. It's this kind of soundbite makes me feel really excitement about how they are.
Yeah. Yeah, you get a glimpse into their mentality. It truly was. I think that's one of the most special features of the documentary. And I think you mentioned there the interviews with Thomas Tuchel and Pochettino. Was it difficult to get those guys to be involved?
Well, the most difficult was the schedule of everybody who is included in the documental. I think it's every week football is moving forward, so we have many interviews and we need to organize the schedule. So this is the
it's complicated.
The most difficult thing
football to track players and managers, especially if they are active and they are still on their careers. We were lucky to have them. I would say Pochettino and Tuchel were kind of at the very end, so we were pushing for a couple of months to get them. And it was that was, I would say, maybe the most difficult part of apart from writing up the story and coming up with the editing. But getting the players and the managers is difficult because their agendas.
We were surprised to see Xavi interview, just because it's a Real Madrid focused documentary, and kind of a documentary that's obviously going to build up the club, his arch rival. So we were surprised that he agreed to take part. Why do you think he did agree?
I think he respect he respect super Real Madrid. I think this is one of the main point, how the rivals talk about you. And Xavi is super open. He tell us all the things that he has inside. He recognized that Real Madrid is the best club ever, and you cannot understand the position of Real Madrid in La Liga without Barcelona. And I think that we were feeling really good with Xavi, and he was open mind absolutely with us.
It was a great interview actually, because he's such a nice guy. So, and he's not afraid of speaking out about the bad times and the good times. So he's, I would say, very transparent. So
super familiar at the same time. He was the coach of Barcelona, but he was super familiar, and he was really, really calm and open with us during the interview.
Having all those rivals was a thing we wanted to have from the very beginning as well, because it tells you the both sides of a story, and I would say that's always a good thing to have, because you give them voice so they can talk about it, they can complain, or just have their points of view, and that's what it counts.
No, definitely. You mentioned too that you obviously had a lot of film that you guys had to comb through, and the club gave you just tremendous amount of film. And so how did you decide on making it a 3-part series? And were there any things that you ultimately opted to cut out, but you wish maybe you could have included, or things that you think listeners listening to this podcast, really diehard Real Madrid fans, would like to hear?
Well, I think we had the decision of making just 3 episodes was a decision with the Apple TV creative team together. We thought of telling this story in 3 episodes was the best thing to do. And for Madrid supporters and fans, that's bad because we had to cut the La Liga story shorter, because the Champions League was the most exciting one, and we had to put all the effort on that. But La Liga story of last season was a really good story as well, because Real Madrid didn't start very well. They had a lot of problems. They had to turn things around from the very beginning, because if you lose track of La Liga in the first 3 months, it kind of gets very difficult to win. So, and they did, and it was amazing because you could see at that moment some of the storylines we wanted to tell. So we started to see, okay, we're seeing Benzema is having a really great year. Vinicius is coming breaking through. It's going to be maybe his year too. Thibaut Courtois is performing very, very well. So there are some great things in this team. Let's see how it goes in the Champions League.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be the most amazing Champions League ever. So balancing those 2 competitions was kind of the thing we discussed the most. Like every day, no, we have to put that in. No, we have to get that out because we go quicker to that other part. And but
there is no highlight out of the edition.
I think too, like, I can hear just from talking to you guys, it must have been such a difficult balance to find that. And obviously you have to edge towards the Champions League because of the prestige, because of what it represents for Real Madrid, and because of just how unbelievable it all was. But in the series, when it shows the Sevilla game, and I think people sometimes forget about, like, that basically was a final in La Liga, and Real Madrid, that was also a comeback. It also included Rodrigo scoring. Like, it was just, I think it was fun to go back to even to that memory, because I was like, oh my God, I kind of almost forgot about the Sevilla game. And it was just because it blended in with all of that time period. And that was a really just incredible game in itself as well. So I totally understand you guys when you say it was a difficult balance. And
yeah, because you think about last season and you start to think in March, they had to come back in the second leg of the Champions League in the round of 16.
Yeah.
They had Barcelona next week. It was 2 weeks later.
2 weeks later?
Very close.
Yeah.
Later on, they had Chelsea. They had to Chelsea had defeated Real Madrid the season before. So it wasn't like, this is not going to be easy. And the first game was at Stamford Bridge. So, like, there were many, many moments in March and April that everything could go the other way completely. That was like, we don't really remember, because we just remember the good moments. But against Chelsea, everything was lost. Against Barcelona in La Liga, in the second game, Real Madrid lost. Against Manchester City, they were losing 4-3. It could
that
have
first
been
leg could have been 7-1.
Yeah. So Toni Kroos said that, and you have to keep that on mind. Like, that happened week after week. So it was like a roller coaster. The last 3 months of the season, and we wanted the story to tell that too. And it wasn't easy all the time.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm curious, and maybe this is, I don't know if you guys have insight into this, but I always think about these things from the club's perspective, and like kind of almost like the return on investment they're looking to get when they, and return on kind of eyes and marketing view when they release documentaries like this, especially into markets that maybe they're not as popular in. So have you guys received any kind of like metrics or anything, measurements on the success of the documentary yet, or kind of what it's providing to a global audience?
No, not really. No specific numbers or figures, but we've seen comments.
Really good one.
It's the first time in my life I see many comments in so different languages about one thing I made. So, and that's amazing. I've been tracking some of the comments. I was saying the other day, the one I've heard the most is goosebumps, and how beautiful it is being a Real Madrid supporter.
Yes.
And those two in I don't know how many, but more than 20 languages, and that is amazing. I think as a documentary director myself, I would say the more people can watch the documentaries and films, the better. So
yeah, feedbacks have been really well.
Yeah.
So far comments have been mostly positive.
I think it's we were talking in the beginning. It's not about the last season of Real Madrid. You cannot say I don't like it if you have emotion, action, epic.
So the thing
we're sorry to interrupt. I think one thing that just popped in my mind though that I've been meaning to ask you guys, how involved were guys like Florentino Perez or Jose Angel Sanchez? Were they involved at all in this production, or did they just kind of give the final thumbs up?
I don't really know. So we were with Florentino for his interview. It was great. He was really nice.
Yeah, he was great. It was that little anecdote about hurting his lip was fantastic.
Love that one, and it is something that he hadn't told before that story. So it was really amazing, and he said that at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Like we started the interview, and that was the first thing he told us. And we were just with really thinking, wow, he's really opening.
Yeah, and it's super beautiful to listen Florentino in the beginning talking about the scar, because you are with your mind, you are flying away about when he was a child and he understood that Real Madrid is more than a club. The relation with his father in Santiago Bernabéu Stadium is the DNA, no? It's the DNA of Real Madrid, with difficulties, but you continue trust that you are going to win year by year.
Yeah, and I think it's unique to Real Madrid in that obviously they're private ownership, in that Florentino Perez is not only the president of Real Madrid, but he's as much a Madridista as anyone. And I think that's what's unique to the club. Like, you don't see that with the Manchester United takeover. You don't see that with the PSG owner, like City. Like, these guys didn't grow up idolizing this club and idolizing these players, and Florentino did. And so when
he was in the Bernabeu when it was just inaugurated. And that's the thing about him, is I would say the most Madridista in the world. Yeah.
No, I mean that. I think getting him in the interview too was great. I'm glad we brought that up. What, for you guys personally, what were some of the highlights of doing this documentary, and what do you hope to be able to work on something in the future with Real Madrid, or?
Well, we've been talking about making a second season of this series. That would be awesome, but reality needs to be very, very high. So
It's not in our hands at the moment. We are really happy to work with Real Madrid in this season. So let's see how happen in the future.
Yeah, for me personally, the best thing working in the series was getting to know the players and how they train every day. And I mean, is the best thing and the thing that surprised me the most, because they were very, very down to earth, very easygoing. So they were really, really good guys.
Yeah.
Like,
did anyone, any player in particular stand out in terms of like, wow, he surprised me. I wasn't expecting this.
For us, we were talking about many times. It's not a player, but Carlo Ancelotti is absolutely the
it's charismatic.
It's charismatic with good humor. It's a gentleman, really calm. How he managed all of the staff, all of the players. He's super beautiful to hear, giving some extra instruction and how he was in the set. It's a gentleman. We are totally in love with his his managed the Real Madrid.
And because now football, there are many tacticians and theories about football and all this scheme, and he keeps it very, very simple. Like you just have to score goals. So
One of my favorite scenes was after, I think it might have been after the Chelsea game, and the camera follows him into the dressing room, and he goes like all the way in the back. He sits down. He's like, "Muerte, muerte." I'm dead. And like he's just like can't believe what he's like. I've gone to heaven. I can't believe this. And then just to like see that type of scene, that's the type of insight I think, especially diehard Real Madrid fans love seeing, because you kind of get a glimpse into his reality and how he's really feeling after it's all over.
I think that most of the audiences totally agree with you on that. That's probably the sequence.
Yeah.
I love that sequence. I love that sequence because it's just Carlo. It's him. No filters.
No filters. Yeah.
It's just that. And you can see how it is to overcome a round in the Champions League and be manager at Real Madrid. So.
Yeah. I think it humanizes him, because it makes like sometimes it's so easy to call out a manager, vilify them, or even lift them up and make them immortal. But I think that moment kind of humanized him, and it was like, wow, he's just like a guy like you and me, and like he lived that, and he's now overwhelmed with emotion.
Totally. No, that was really, really good to see, because it tells more than that sequence. It's beyond you're seeing a man in maybe one of the most difficult moments of his career, even though he's been manager for almost 20 years. So
no, that's great. Well, I know we're getting close to time here. Is there anything else you guys want to share with our listeners?
You have like a good 10 minutes, so don't rush yourself.
Okay. Well, is there, while we're on the question, is there anything else you guys want to share or kind of dive into?
I don't know. We were saying before, being with the players, that was really nice to have the time to knowing them. And I would say that's the thing about the series that I like the most. Like from the very beginning, we wanted to tell this story on one of the most amazing seasons in football ever. But we wanted to tell the story of the players that made it, like how they are, how they think. And we used some of those players to come back a little bit and tell their own stories within the club. And we like that too, because we kind of see how last season was special for them, not just for how the season was, but also for them personally, because it was a major breaking point in their careers. Like for Vinicius, we were saying before, it was the completely breakout season for him, but also for Karim Benzema, who had been kind of dealing with, could he be the biggest star Real Madrid needs in the near future? And he was up to that challenge. Luka Modric is kind of saying goodbye, but no, he's not, because he can do things that other players can't.
Yes.
And those little stories, we also like to put
I
it
think
in series, because takes you closer to the players as well, and to the challenges they were facing last season.
Yeah, I think it's unique. Like, what's unique about last season and the construction of the team is you obviously have the youth policy that Real Madrid have implemented in recent seasons, coupled with these veterans who have been through it all and are still having kind of that last dance. And that blend works so well. And I think there's, to your point, there's so many different storylines interweaved. You have Vinicius breaking out. You have Benzema proving that he can be the successor to Ronaldo, that he can carry a team to the Champions League title and win the Ballon d'Or. You have Thibaut Courtois, who at first was struggled at Real Madrid and was in Keylor Navas' shadow, and his first season wasn't great, or his first season as a number one wasn't great. And then he comes out and puts in probably the greatest goalkeeping performance of all time, or one of them. And
they lost that final too.
As a Leti player, it's just so many different storylines. I think you guys had a lot to work with, and that's the nice thing, right? You guys had a lot to work with, which made it.
That discovers those other details on players that we actually don't see during games, like the relationship between Modric and Rodrigo as well.
Yeah.
So we didn't know that they name each other like father and son.
Yeah.
That's a really nice thing. To have the players like behaving like that. And it means family. They say family in at the very end, like in the series, a couple of times. David Beckham says that too, and we saw that, like they support each other like they were family.
Do you guys, now that you've kind of had an inside view of the club and the players, when you see things sometimes come out from the media or see, I don't know, things that you, now that you almost know the player, not know, but like have a closer view to them, do you see things and be like, oh, that's not true? Or, oh, no, this is Real Madrid. Oh, I know, I saw Rodrigo. I know Vinicius. Like, no way that's happening.
That's a good question, but I don't know. How can I answer you?
For me, journalists, they have to feel the news, and there are so many. Sometimes I would say it's like too early to say something.
Yeah.
Right? And there's one thing on the Vinicius story. When he arrived at the club, he got a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And he was just 18 years old. Like, give the kid some time.
Yeah.
Rather than pushing, like, prices are high, even though it doesn't matter you are 18 or you are 25. Prices are high all the time.
Yeah.
Give him some time, because he just came out from his own country and is in a different place, not knowing the language, not knowing the culture. He needs to adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all eyes on you. When you are playing on Real Madrid, all eyes on you. You need to an extra effort to becoming a legend. Also in the docu-series, we have some legends really important to Real Madrid, and it's super beautiful to hear Mijatovic, Raúl, Roberto Carlos, Beckham, that they were playing 10 years ago, and they are still transmitting the essence of Real Madrid. I think it's super beautiful to hear and listen them.
And also that they experience the same thing as the players right now. Like the current players, are close to what they had in the past.
Yeah.
So the experience of being at Real Madrid is always demanding.
Nothing changed.
Yeah,
Nothing changed.
Yeah.
you have
Well,
to win.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
think that the nice thing is too is that these players pass it down from like generation. Like Roberto Carlos took Marcelo in, and then Marcelo takes Vinicius, Rodrigo, Eder Militao under his wing, and now Vinicius, you've already started to see him do that with Endrick, who's going to arrive soon, who's only 16.
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that, again, to your guys' point, it's like the essence and the values of the club, and it trickles down, and that culture and like that winning mental, like we said, like when you walk into the Santiago Bernabeu, or when you guys walked into the club's training facilities, like you could just feel it and you could sense it. And I think that's something that the club has done a tremendous job in growing and establishing, and I think Florentino Perez has only continued that culture, and so I think that's what differentiates Real Madrid. Honestly, I think it's a competitive advantage versus some of these new state-owned clubs like PSG and City and all those guys that are inflating the transfer market, warping wages, and
It's a different approach to football.
Yeah.
So the Real Madrid is more traditional in that term, like is history of football in itself.
Yeah.
So that's for sure. And yeah, players can feel it, and players have to live up to that thing. Like you have to be very, very in a very specific, like a very specific kind of footballer to succeed at Real Madrid. And if you have it, you have it. If you don't, you have to go out.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So many players come to Real Madrid, but not many succeed. It's difficult. I think it was Roberto Carlos told us about, like, you come to Real Madrid and you have to deal with the best players in the world in your position. You have to be better than them to prove yourself, and also to get a spot in the starting 11. So if you want to play, you have to prove yourself you're the best in that position. So.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's so true, and it's been that way for almost since Santiago Bernabeu was the president. So it's just the tradition of Real Madrid and part of our values. So I think we covered a lot, guys. I don't know if you have anything else you want to touch on. I truly appreciate your time, and I think our listeners are going to love hearing this. I think listeners, definitely go watch the series if you haven't. There's, like many of these anecdotes we pointed out in these interviews with the players, with coaches, with Florentino Perez, like it's worth your time. It's worth to check it out. And I'll leave you guys, Jesus and Pablo, with any last words you want to share.
No, yes, to all listeners, please do, as Matt says, spread the word, because it's I think good entertaining for any fan or for any viewer, regardless you're a football fan or Real Madrid fan. And you will have a really good time.
Yeah. Thank you, Matt, to invite us, and a big hug to all of the Madridistas around the world.
Thanks for listening, guys. And before we wrap it up here and send you along on your way, we wanted to give a quick shout out to our patrons over on patreon.com/Managing Madrid, who do so much to support the show. Thank you guys for being on this journey with us and being a part of this ever-growing Real Madrid family. If you pledge $10 or more, not only do you get access to every single bonus content we do, and not only do you get guaranteed responses to your questions, but you also get a specific shout out on the podcast. So shout out to these $10 plus patrons as follows: Brandon Alvarez, Willie Reed, Will Sousa, Way Paring, Wamik Jamal, Tobias Royal Botcher, Taleb Salhab, Tahmid Kalam, Sushank Damala, Sujai Wani, Sumanchu Singh, Sheikh Hatiri, Shamil, Shabaz Sharapov, Sergio Arispe, Santos Solorzano, Samuli Justin, Samer Z, Said Mahad, Sai Mohan, Sasi Kumar, Saad Omar, Rodrigo Balmaceda, Rishi D, Phoenix, Peter Powell, Paulo Fierro, Patrick Diafati, Oscar Barrera, Nico Laxo, Nicholas Moeller, Nick Ribeiro, and then we got Nelson Mazariego, Mowgli, MJ Diego, Michael Zinberg, Marin Myrtle, Matthew Atkins, Martin Ridman, Magnus Lext, Logan Stahl, Leon Stavronakis, Kunal Tilakar, Crystal Glass, Kevin Rivera, Jose Cruz, John Fernandez, Jason Fitz, Ian Marley, Graham Gerard, Gary Kohut, Frederick Rantakiro, Frederick Sundros, S.A. Davisito, Eloy Enriquez, Edward Sossman, Daniel Williams, Connor McMorrow, Con P, Christian Toff, Christian Acosta, Charles Williams, Brendan Powers, Brandon Stevens, Ashik Bashar, Arnab Mukherjee, Armin Kashi, Armando L, Anirudh Singh, Andres Silvestre, Ananya Kumar, Alex Steiberg, Alex Rose, Azaz Hussein, Adrian Rios, Adar Zalukovic, Adam Dorsey, Bella Chow, Ramtin Maghrur, Manaf Al-Haddad, Fabian Moreno, and Daniel Smith. We love you guys so much. Thank you, and Hala Madrid.